Let's make sure that the recording is happening today. Last day this was had gone missing. Okay, good morning everyone. Let's start the class now. Uh, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at uh, one very useful and very effective plotting system called ggplot2. All right. Before that, we'll very quickly. I will just for the sake of theory and for the sake of quiz, I will spend a few minutes on the lattice plotting system, which is the second plotting system that is available in R. All right, and then the third one is ggplot2. Okay, so so we'll look at these two. I'll just kind of give you a little explanation, theoretical explanation, and then we will start moving into the code for um, ggplot2 as it is there. Okay, and for that purpose, I'm going to give you a file which will be there in files to students directory, and you download it from there. All right. So what I'm going to do is wait. Let's just save this file. Okay. So week 2 code. So I'm copying it, or rather let me just move it into files to students. Okay, so this is where I've put it. All right, let me create a new folder. Okay, uh, so I've created a folder called week 2. I hope you guys can see this file in Google Drive. Just a second, huh? So we'll use this file today. Let me also send it to you by email if that'll be faster. But I would prefer that you use it directly from the link, because if I make any changes, the link changes are available to you as well. Okay, so have you been able to? So this is the file that we will use, and then uh, have you been able to install the ggplot2 package on your machine? While maybe I'll be talking theory, you guys can run the command install.packages. All right, so in the background it'll keep on running in case it's not yet uh, installed. Uh, yep, you got it. If you got it, please raise your hands. Okay, Pratik, you done? All right. Who else is done or is going to start now? Pratik has done installing the ggplot2. Anmol is done. Okay. Or Anmol is starting now. Dheeraj, Jatin, Lavita, Munmun, Sarvani, Supreet, Utkarsh. Have you guys? Okay. Huh? Execute the command, and then I would start off with the theory. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Also, you guys download. Okay, installing this process, right? So shall I continue with the class now? If you guys have executed that command, all of you. Anyone needs me to wait a couple of minutes or any more for you guys to kind of execute the command so that you have one pointed attention on what I'm going to be talking about once we start. Uh, where are the rest of the people? Tenna, Subbu, Salman, Sheetal, all these guys, Shachi. Most of the secondary rights are not there. They have some presentation or something in the class today. Okay, shall I start? Shall I continue? So two parts, right? You take the week 2 code from the week 2 folder on Google Drive, and then you install the ggplot2. All right. And I'm going to also give you another file. Let me just put it also in the week 2 folder, which is the max.rda. All right. So I'm just copying it. So there's another file called max.rda, which is going to be our database file. So you basically, it's a data frame stored as a file. Yeah. So you copy that also into your machines. Okay. The folder should be there, Sarvani. Any of you have been able to access the week 2 code folder? It's already shared with all of the team. I mean, since the whole directory is shared, so I don't see a reason why you should not be seeing it. Even the rest of you are not able to see it. You can access it. You can access, right? Sarvani, have you logged in using the ID which is data uh, science SSU at the rate Google Groups email ID that you're using? Whichever email ID that you're getting the mails from, have you logged in using that into your G Drive? If you haven't, then you may not have access to it. Uh, so there are two files. So even now you're not having have access. You don't have access to the folder, is it? Okay, just check. Huh? Do you guys have the LAN created? 10 hours to create something, right, for you all, wherein you just one person downloads and puts it there, and then you can just copy paste it from there. Not yet, is it? Somebody should take the responsibility to get it done. It'll be much faster because we always transfer stuff across and then it becomes slow. Because invariably, even if I say take it a week, I mean earlier than that, doesn't kind of happen at times. Okay, so I'm going to start. All right. Uh, so basically what we're going to do is we this week, let's look at what we have. We have a very interesting project that is there for week 2. All right. And the project involves mostly you can do the whole project with whatever we did in week 1, and then there are about 6 questions in that project, and there's one question that will require you to do it on ggplot2. All right. So we will kind of briefly look at ggplot2. All right. And focus will still stay the project. Okay. Plus getting introduction into ggplot2. We will not focus so much on the lattice plotting system. It isn't used much. All right. I mean, it was there before the ggplot2 came into picture, and but it had its limitations, and so ggplot2 takes care of all those limitations. Okay. So as far as lattice plotting system is concerned, I so you guys are fine. Shall I continue? You can hear me and everything. Class, are you guys able to hear me? Okay, I'll just move ahead. All right. Uh, so now, uh, so just this for the theoretical purposes. All right. We'll finish it off in 5-10 minutes maybe. So about the lattice plotting system, I'm using the slides. Okay. So now this contains a code internally which is called the trellis graphics. Okay. So it is independent of the base graphic system that is there, and it uses functions like xy plot, bw plot. Bw stands for box and whisker plot, right? Level plot and so on. Okay. And what it does is so that is the lattice plotting system, and then the grid plotting system implements a different graphic system, which is so they have two packages there, lattice and grid. All right. So the grid implements a different graphic system which is totally independent of the base system, and the lattice package builds on top of the grid packaging system. All right. So but we don't call the functions directly from the grid package. All right, so functions are called, it's like, you've written something like Excel, for example, is written in C language. All right, but we don't use C language when we're working in Excel. So it's something similar, so that on top of the grid package, the on the top of the base system, this is built up. Okay, and so the lattice is built on top of the grid system, but we never call the functions directly from there. And the lattice plotting systems do not have a two-phase aspect with separate plotting and annotations. So this is important. If you notice, in the previous one, we could plot separately and then annotate, right? Here it is one phase. There is only one phase, that is single function call. Okay, and that's the biggest limitation of the lattice plotting system. And these are the various functions that are there: xy plot, bw plot, histogram, strip plot, and dot plot, etc. Okay, now the syntax is something like this. We say xy plot and y tilde x, then y is y axis, tilde x, x is the x axis, and then f star g, all these are the conditional factors, right? So all of this x, y, f, and g should belong to data. So let's say data is a data frame, and then f, g, x, and y are columns in this data frame. All right, so y is the y axis, x is the x axis. That's how it is. The tilde sign comes in between. Okay, and f into g again indicates how many panels are there. Okay, so what is the biggest advantage of the lattice function is, lattice plotting system, is that you can create different panels, or you can say, how many different screens are there, right? So f into g number of screens would be there. And so this is the simple example of a lattice function. All right, so if you just say xy plot, say our simple data set that is there, that is the air quality data set. If I say ozone tilde wind, so ozone is the y-axis, tilde wind, so I get a scatter plot. Okay, and now if I want to have the panels, so what do I do? So similarly, so I have the library lattice. Okay, and air quality is the data that I'm using, but I make a slight change. Now this change is important. Why is this change important? Because this part that is there, we say x tilde y, sorry, y tilde x, and then bar f into g. This part, which is about panels, okay, is this. So this will work. Wait. So this will work only if f and g are factors or shingles. All right. So otherwise it will not work. So now what we have to do is, so first thing is, if I'm going to use something as a, for the panel purpose, like month is numeric maybe, right? Now if I want, or maybe characters, so I want to use it as a, as separators for the panel. So what do? I convert it into a factor. So that is important. Let's look at it. Let's say str of air quality. So air quality was our database. I say str air quality. Okay, so if I see month, month is an integer. All right, so it will not work if I, let me just run and execute this piece of code for you quickly. Hmm. uh, so I need the week one code. All right, so I execute library is equal to lattice. All right, and so then I'm uh, uh, mm, okay, right? So and then let's say equality, or let me just do it as it is. XY plot is ozone tilde. I'm making some mistakes in this code, all right, so that you see the errors. Okay, so I say tilde uh, wind comma data is equal to air quality. All right. Uh, so what has happened is, there are spelling mistakes. So let me. Okay. So error because wind is not found because it's case sensitive. All right. So I make the. So I told you I'm going to make a mistake. Okay, so now if I do this, I get this plot. All right, but now what I want is, I want month as a factor by which I want to separate this data. So I do this and then I say month. All right, hold on, my electricity is gone here. All right, um, so I hope it lasts for at least 15-20 minutes. Okay, I have the UPS running. So do you see what's happened now? So it gave me month, 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 but that's not what I uh, wanted it to plot like. So what I say is, I say instead of this, convert month into a factor. All right, so I say factor. Okay, let's see what we get. So I get a much better one now. I get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, and then I want the layout to be slightly different. I don't want the layout this way. All right, so I say layout is equal to C 5 comma 1. All right, so I get the layout like this. So I can change my layout. And so is it clear why I need to use the factor here rather than say an integer? I will not get the exact result otherwise. Okay, so all right. So this is about the lattice plotting system, slightly about the behavior. It basically, when you plot, so when you do base graphic function, they will plot directly on the graphic devices, right? They will plot on the screen or on the PDF file, etc. But what lattice graphics of functions do is they return an object called trellis, all right? And this trellis is then used to print, okay? But there is auto printing that is happening, and therefore you cannot make out a difference, right? What we did is you were able to see that the plotting happened, right? Now the plotting happened because actually it was kind of an auto print. So lattice function actually return the plot objects that can be stored also. So you can store the data, but it's always better to save the code and the data rather than just the plot objects. So on the command line, trellis objects are auto printed. So that's what we saw anyways. Okay. So let's look at this. So for example, same thing. I say, so I put the whole thing into P. All right. I say P is equal to this, and then I want to see P. What is P? I don't see anything, and then I say print P. All right. So what happens is, let me close this. Okay. So I do print P again. So what has happened is it has come up here. All right. Is this clear? So a new plot has been replotted by using the print P. P is the way you have saved it. All right. On the other hand, if I was not assigning it to P, as we saw, there was auto printing that is happening. Okay. So a lot of as we saw, so lattice functions have a panel function which controls what happens inside each panel. So you can do that as well. All right. And so the lattice package comes with default panel functions. That is why we don't need to bother about it. Say when we said layout is equal to this C 5 comma 1, that's all that we changed. Other than that, the by default the settings of the panel function took care of how the plot has to be given. All right. So the panel functions will receive the xy coordinates of the data in their panel along with the optional arguments if you want to give. All right. So for example, so now this is the panel functions here. So I say, so I'm taking some random variables, and then I'm repeating 0 and 1 each with 50 values, another 100 points. Okay. And uh, Munmun asked the question why the layout has 5 comma 1, because 5, it means 5 is the number of columns and one number of rows, right? So that's how it is, columns and rows. Okay, so it has one row and 5 columns. So let's reverse this. Okay, what we'll do is let's just reverse our panel. Okay, so we make it say 1 comma 5. Let's see, got it? So suddenly now we have 5 columns and one row. Okay, so that's what it does basically. All right. I'm skipping the examples. Okay, I'm straight away moving into now the ggplot2. Okay, if we have time at the end of the class, we will look at this, but otherwise our main focus is the ggplot2. Okay. So you get a little idea about the lattice plotting. Okay, that's all that we need to focus on. You will rarely use lattice plotting. You will always use either the base plotting or the ggplotting. Okay. uh, all right, so coming to ggplot, GG stands for grammar of graphics. Okay, and so basically there was a limitation. On one side we have the lattice plotting system wherein I have to execute the command in one go, And then the base plotting system, we saw the biggest drawback is that we cannot kind of undo anything, right? So we said, okay, what do we do now? So we say, okay, ggplot2 takes care of this. It's mainly based on the grammar of graphics. We will look at that. All right. And who developed it? Again, Hadley Wickham. And this guy is a graduate student when he developed it. All right. So he found that there's this thing missing, and he used this third graphic system. He created it on his own. All right. And so what we have is we have verbs and nouns and adjectives for the graphics. All right. So we will show you what that is. So basically we said we have a theory of graphics, and then we convert that into the actual graph. All right. So basically how you think in the mind to the graph, the distance is shortened. All right. So it feels more intuitive. So basically in the grammar of graphics, what are the key components? One is the aesthetics of a map, right? We see how it looks, color, shape, and size. And then the geometry. What data are you plotting? You're doing points, you're doing lines, you're doing bars, what you're doing. Then the statistical transformations. For example, when you plot a histogram, it creates bins, right? Or you do quantiles, so that's a statistical transformation. Or you plot a log of the data rather than the data itself, right? So these are statistical transformation. And then you have the coordinate system, XY coordinate, or how you use it. Okay. Now, one of the key functions in the ggplot2 is qplot. All right, this is a basic function which is a replacement for the plot function of the base plotting system. All right, so works a lot like the plot function, and now it will work on a data frame. So in case you're not specifying a data frame on which the data it is occupying, it will look at the same columns in the parent environment. All right, so in case the parent environment has it, great, otherwise it'll throw up an error. So that's how it works. It'll first look at the data frame, and then it'll look at the parent environment. All right, so plots are made up of aesthetics part, that is the size, shape, and color, and the geoms, as we call them, geometric objects basically. All right, that is points and lines. Now again, here also factors are important to create the subsets of data, right? As we saw earlier also in latest case. So factors for categorical data and shingles for numeric data. All right, so you need to create factors. Uh, and more importantly, they should be labeled. We will look at what it means when we say labeled. Basically, see, I can store my data as, say, male or female, right? Where I can say MF. So input of the data can be MF, and the factors become M and F. Or I can store the same gender data as 1 and 2. I say internally I can understand that M is equal to 1 and G is equal to 2. Sorry, female is equal to 2. But that is not really labeled data. So it's always better that your data is labeled, because the plot will come up in a more neater manner then. Okay. So so if you look at this, now this data, it's giving month as 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it's not a really labeled data. It could have been May, June, July, August, September, right? So that would have been much more neater and better. Okay. And again, the qplot hides a lot of the complexities that go underneath. But still it is okay for a lot of the operations, especially for exploratory data science. But ggplot is the core function and is much more flexible. And you can also use ggplotting for presentation purposes. All right. So what we will do is we will look at this data, that's miles per gallon data, the data that is. So first thing that I'm going to do is I call the ggplot2. All right. So I say ggplot2. All right. This is assuming that you've already installed the package. All right. All of you guys have done this. And then let's look at the data that we're going to play around with. strmpg. All right. So now this data, if you look at it, has 234 observations and 11 variables. So what are the variables? One is the manufacturer of the car. So it's a car's data. All right. So manufacturer, who's the manufacturer? Audi, Chevrolet. If you notice, it's a factor. Okay. And then what's the model? All right. Again, there are 38 different models. All right. So 4Runner, 4WD, and so on. Okay. And then displacement, I think that is to do with the engine size or something like that. Okay, which year it was manufactured, the model is in which year, 1999, and so on. Cylinder size, 4 cylinder, 6 cylinder. Then transmission. All right. Then the drive is 4-wheel, front wheel, or rear wheel. All right. And then CTY is some other data. HWY, I guess, is the average. All right. The mileage. Okay. And then there's some other factors that are there. All right. So whether it is two-seater, compact, so that's the last one. So this is my data. Okay. Now what I want to do is I just want to, okay, let's initially look at a simple plot. Okay, here I say so now this is available in the code also, right? So you don't need to worry so much. So week 2 code. uh, so I say simply I just want to plot uh, the displacement versus the mileage, I guess. All right, and then the data is equal to mpg. So I can straight away do this. For example, I'm just doing different ways. All right, so first is I'm using the plot function from the previous case. So this is what it comes up as. All right, look at this. So this is from the base plotting. All right, I'm doing the same thing in using the ggplot. So I say qplot. So same thing gets plotted like this. All right, so by default, if you notice, the qplot is grayish on the background and then the black dots. Okay, whereas by default the plot function is slightly different. So now I'm going to use it with the data is equal to mpg. Line of code is number 4. All right, 4 line of code. So if I execute this, again I get the same result. All right, only difference is I get the labels as well. Now what I do is I want to give different colors to these data points based on the drive type, whether it is front wheel, rear wheel, or four wheel. Okay, so all I need to do is I say color is equal to drive. But before that, let's see that the drive is a factor here. All right, it is not an integer or something. So if I say color is equal to drive, what do I get? So I execute the line number 5. So I get this. Do you see? So I get the green ones that are the front wheel drive, and that HWY is basically the mileage, right? So it's the highest mileage is there, but the displacement, maybe the power is lesser. And then the rear wheel drive is again has low mileage, but the displacement is higher, so basically more power. And then you have four wheel drives which have the least mileage. All right, which is also very intuitive as well. Okay, so now what I will do is just to see, let's see if I use some other way to color it rather than dr drive, which was actually a factor, right? Let's use cty. Okay, and let's see what happens. So I'm copying this line of code. Okay, so there was no line of code at line number 6. I've just added it, and I say drive is equal to cty. All right, and then I press an enter. Even this is printing it out, in fact. All right, so how the cty changes, it becomes lighter to darker, but know that it is not a factor now. Sorry, is there any question? But so it means that in ggplot we can differentiate on a basis of color. uh, no. So Anmol asked a question. In ggplot, we can differentiate on basis of color, whereas in lattice, we can differentiate only on the basis of a variable. No. Even in the lattice plot, you can do the similar stuff. It will work, right? I don't know which is the corresponding command, but the command will work. Let's see. Uh, uh, so the command will work and it'll give the colors accordingly. Okay. So it should not have a problem. I hope I have been able to take care of the question. Yeah, okay. So what I did is I just created CTY. Now CTY is an integer. So what happened is there's a shading of the color that you can see now. All right, so this is also possible. Now, uh, so I'm just saving this file. Uh, so moving it to directly to week 2. Sorry, files to students. So I'm just whatever I'm changing, I'm uploading the latest file. Okay. All right. So uh, so now what I'm saying is, all right, so color is done. Okay, next is, so what I want to plot a line like this. All right, so I want to kind of smoothen it out. I want to see how the trend is of the data. All right, so there I use a geom. All right, geometric object. All right, and by so geometric object, so let me show you this. So what I see is, by default already a geom has been used. Remember, what did we say? We said that, oops, sorry, I think my R crashed. Let me just restart it. Okay. So if you notice, we said that the uh, in it is grammar of graphics, and there is a part which is called the aesthetics, and then there's a part which is the actual points and all. Now, when I said I executed a simple command line, let me just change my working directory. So when I said just to library ggplot2, okay, uh, I say qplot display comma highway comma data is equal to mpg. All right. So what's happening? I get a plot here. So now this plot. So what is the aesthetic part in it, and um, uh, what is the geometric objects here? Did I specify any specific geometric objects? Uh, Hello? Did I specify anything specific as far as geometric objects are concerned, or the aesthetics are concerned? I didn't, right? I didn't specify anything as far as aesthetics are also concerned. By default, the qplot or the ggplot takes a point as a geom. All right, so point as a geom is taken anyways. Okay, and similarly aesthetics, as you can see, um, dark black lines and everything is black, and then background is gray. So all this is the aesthetics part. Now what I'm doing is I'm making a slight change. So I'm saying this, and then there's something called a geom, right? I say geom, and then I say geom is equal to, sorry, it, yeah, right. So I say geom is equal to c point. All right. Let's see if the plot changes or not. Do you think our plot will change if I make this? I add this part of the to the command. Will my plot change? Yeah, it will not change, right? Because I'm just adding what was already there by default. So if I execute this line of code, I still get the same plot. On the other hand, I can have multiple geoms. So I can say this, and then I can say smooth. All right. So when I do this, you see what has happened? I get points as well as a smoothing. So what does the smooth use? Uh, it uses something called LOS. What is LOS? Not loss, it is LOS. It basically means local estimation, basically localized estimation. It's more like least square method. Okay, it just kind of draws a line in between. So you see the blue line, which is the least square method that has been used, polynomial least square method that is used, and then you have the 95% confidence level also as the dark gray area. If you notice, can you see this? See this region, the dark gray area that is there is the 95% confidence line, and then you have the line which is the, so by default it is using the method is equal to LOS, right? So if I was to do the same command here, and then I say method is equal to, let's see, I'll get the same plot. Do you see this? On the other hand, if I can say the my method is equal to LM, what is LM? That's the linear modeling, right? So now I got a linear model. Is this clear? How I'm kind of building up my plot? So geom is also clear, and then within geom, then there is methods, right, for the smooth. So that, so the when I say method, now method is applicable to the smooth part, not the point part. Clear? Are you guys clear till so far? What all we did? The code is there with you, anyways. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is we'll do 4 different plots and see what happens very quickly. So I'm saying my mf row is equal to 4 comma 4. All right, and then I say first is q plot as it is. So I think this, in this I think it doesn't work. No. LM is linear regression. LOS is not even quadratic regression. It is polynomial regression actually. All right. So it is localized polynomial regression. Okay. So am I clear to you, Anmol? Anmol asked the question, is lowest linear regression? No. Linear regression is LM. All right. So LOS is not linear regression. LOS is actually polynomial regression. That's why you see the curve, right? Linear regression would mean a straight line. Okay. So so I'm just doing a point, then I'm doing a smooth error, only smooth. So I get only this. Do you see? If you see my line number 16, I executed line number 16. So it says geom is equal to smooth. I get only this. Okay. Then I say jitter. All right. So what does that do? It gives different kind of, I don't know how is that different from the point as such. I don't see a difference as such. Let me just do the point once again. Point is all neat and clean. Jitter. I can't make out what's the difference between jitter and, I mean, looks wise is totally different, but I don't know why the point is giving you data like that and jitter gives you something like this. Oh, I guess let's look at the difference between the two. All right. So I guess what point does is, if there is a similar value again, it will not repoint, it will just build it up on the same. Here we see the values which are like multiple, right? So they are the same point values, but they are shown up as separate. I guess that's why it is said jitter. All right. Then I have point and segment. So now what is this? Now look at this. I'm just giving another example. We'll not go into detail. So this line part, all right, is the segment. What it does is, it is the starting point is anyways there with us. Then I can say x end and y end. So I say wherever the value is, displacement plus 0.1. Similarly, y end is the highway value plus 1. So it actually creates another point here and then it joins the two. So it's creating this line actually. What is segment doing? Let me knock off the point part. So this will become more clear to you. Is this clear? How the segment is plotting the graph? My geom is a segment. It's not a point. Are you guys clear? So this is how I can combine different things. All right. Then see if I want to plot a histogram. So what I do is, now if you notice, for a histogram, I just specify one column of data, all right? That is HWY, and then I say data is equal to MPG. Then geom is histogram. That'll take care of it. So if I do this, I get this histogram. At the same time, I could have also plotted this saying qplot and then HWY and then data is equal to MPG. Now if I do this plot, there is nothing that has changed. So what it means is that by default, if I specify only one column, the plot that will be plotted will be a histogram. Is this clear? The geom will be a histogram. Okay. So let's just look at few more examples for histogram. Now in the histogram, if I want to change the color, right, based on the drive, two wheel, four wheel, so I can use this something called fill is equal to drive. So I do this, so I get a histogram like this. Okay. On the other hand, what happens if I say color is equal to drive? Let's see. I don't know what will happen. So what color is equal to drive has done is, it has created the borders which are of different color. So that's the difference. So I'm not interested in color is equal to drive. Okay. What I'm interested in is fill. Is this clear? How fill and color behave differently for a histogram? Are you guys clear with this? Okay. All right. Now, so I'm just writing the same command with no default values assumed. So I say geom is equal to histogram, fill is equal to drive anyways. Okay. Now, does the order of these things matter? Actually, it doesn't matter. So I could have said HWY, then geom is equal to histogram, fill is equal to drive, then data is equal to MPG and all that. It'll work fine. And then, so so this takes care. Now, how do I create panels, right? We saw in lattice, there is the way to create panels. So there is something called facets in ggplot2, which I can use to create panels. And now I can create again panels which are on the x-axis and on the y-axis, right? I can say 3 by 2 panel, which means there'll be totally 6 graphs. Or I can say 4 by 1 panel, which means 4 rows and 1 column, right? Or I can say 1 by 5, so one row and 5 columns. Remember that in the other one it is different. In lattice it is column first and then the row. All right. So here I say, in case I don't, so how it is how's the code, how do you specify the facets? All right, so the syntax is basically facets is equal to x tilde y, right? So if I don't want to specify any different rows, right, x is sorry, it is yeah, row tilde column, basically that's how you should treat it, right? So row tilde column. So if I don't want to have multiple rows, I just want to have one single row, so I use a dot instead of that. So I say dot tilde column. So when I say drive is equal to column, that means I will have, according to the number of colors, that many panels that will be created, but as columns. Okay, so if I was to execute the line of code, that is line number 28. Okay, what I get is a graph like this. So four-wheel drive, this is how it is, corresponding to displacement. Front wheel is this way and rear wheel is this. By the way, at least you have the code, and are you also executing it? Are you able to execute it? How many of you are executing the code as well? Okay, great, Kash. Very good. That's all right. I mean, some of them, because I'm going a little faster also, I guess. But all you need to do is just get an idea, right? So that's good enough. When you're going to do the project, that's when you can go into details, or I mean, go when you go back, that's time when you can actually go into details of the code. What about the others? Utkarsh told me he's plotting the code. What about the rest of you? Anmol, Dibshri, Dipankar, Dheeraj, Jatin, Lavita, Munmun, Sarvani. You're not able to do Munmun? Okay. Devashri, you have executed. All right. All right. So Munmun, maybe you take some time out, and then I'll explain things to you later. All right. Uh, okay. All right. What about the rest of you? Do you guys think from communication point of view, the Adobe Connect was better, maybe because everyone is chatting, and therefore it kind of creates an environment of replying back? Because what I notice in this is that people don't communicate anything, uh, because maybe you don't see each other's uh, uh, questions on screen. What if I do you see the questions window now if I put it there, or you don't? Because I'm sharing my screen. Do you see the questions window? I've just pulled it up into screen 2. Oh, okay, Dipankar, I'll do that. All right. You can't see the window? Okay. All right. That means the it is designed in such a manner. But do you guys suggest that we should have some kind of a common chat going, or this is good enough? How do you want it? Say maybe Facebook chat or something. This is good. Okay. All right. So let me move ahead. Okay. So facets takes care of this, right? In terms of communication, I feel that this has much fewer lags. No, no, no. Dipankar, what we will do is for audio and everything, we will use this. For everything else, we will use this. I'm just saying, what if we have one which is a chat thing? Let's say we use Facebook or something, right? Or some other chat which everyone can very easily access. All we need is a common chat. Somebody can suggest what we can use for that. Uh, Maybe some software like Link software of. Okay, fine, that's fine. As long as you feel comfortable this way, that's fine. Okay, let's move ahead, right? So we looked at the facets part, right? And similarly, I can change this now. I can say facets. So I'm reversing this. All right. So if I don't use the tilde, let's see what I get. So I'm not using the tilde. Sorry, I'm not using the dot. It will still consider it as correct. All right. So it's the same as this. On the other hand, so if I use only one column, I get the histograms. If I want to change the color, right? So I say color is equal to drive. So now I get the colors inside. All right. Let's see if I do fill is equal to drive, what do I get? I say fill, right? So how the fill and the color are different, you can see the difference. So I'm running uh, uh, line number 31. Okay. Uh, so let me come back to color. And then I want to change, because I'm using histograms, I want to change the bin width. I say bin width is equal to 2 and color is equal to drive. So what happens is, so this is how it is. Now it becomes much larger. Earlier the bin width was, I guess, 1 or maybe half. Okay. So this is how I can customize my code. Mm. Uh, Now let's look at line number 35. So I said drive tilde dot facets are. So it will get plotted in the number of columns. So I'll now have 3 columns, right? And now I have drive tilde year. So I guess we have, I don't know how many years, maybe 4 or 5. Let's see what happens. So when I do this, 2 years I have, right? So I get 3 by 2. Is this clear? Now notice the here I say color is equal to drive. I could have also said it this way. Color is equal to C drive. So how did this change? Tell me what difference has happened. So I said color is equal to drive and I get a slight different curve, right? And then I say color is equal to C drive. What has happened is, I guess when I say C drive, okay, so the factors are removed out of it. All right. On the other hand, if I say, so there are levels in this, right? So the moment I make it C of a variable, right? That variable, if it has factors, then the factors get knocked off. Okay, that is why I'm getting it like this. So because the factors are knocked off, then it comes as a, you know, descending kind of a thing. Is this clear? Uh, so then I say color is equal to year. Similarly, I get it for different years, different colors. All right. Okay. Now please bring this code. I have also given you max.rda file, okay, in the files to students. Please copy that. Have you copied that file? How many of you have been able to copy that file? maacs.rda. The file is in the week 2, sorry, files to students week 2. You have been able to copy? Okay. Let me also, do you want me to send it as an email as well, you guys? Just a 9 KB file, small file. Okay. So I'm sending the file as an email as well. Okay. So you must have received it. Yeah. So what we do is we first load this file. Okay. Make sure that your working directory is set correctly. All right. So let me see what's my working directory. It is week 2 and the file lies in week 2 folder itself. So I say load. All right. So I'm loading this. I say load cs.rda. Okay. So you put in double quotes. All right. So this has been loaded now. So now if I say str, so cs, right? So let's see what it is. So it's a data frame. So basically a data frame can actually be stored. This is really amazing. You can actually store a whole data frame into a file. Okay. R file called the RDA, right? So it's a data frame which has 750 observations and 5 variables. So what are the variables? One is the ID. Basically, what is this data? Let's look at it. It is the max cohort, that is mouse allergy and asthma problems amongst children, all right, from the age of 5 to 17. Okay. and it based on the indoor environment and the pollution levels, right? Pollution levels are measured using the PM25 parameter. Okay, then ENO is basically exhaled nitric oxide or something like that, which is a measure of I guess um asthma. All right, and then MOPOS is basically the measure of mouse allergy. Are the children that are there allergic to mouse or not, right? So that is mouse positive or mouse negative. Basically mouse positive is yes or no. All right, so that is another factor there. Okay, so we say this is our data. What we have is exhaled nitric oxide, which determines the asthma levels. Okay, and fine particulate matter and so on. So first thing that I want to do is I just want to plot a simple histogram. All right, so so what I do is I plot a log of ENO instead of ENO, or for to begin with, I'm just plotting line number 47. Okay, I'm plotting ENO as it is. That is equal to max. So what will I get? I'll get a histogram, right? So this is what I get. So this is how actually the data is. So as the ENO increases, the count is coming down. All right, but what will be better is in this scenario to actually plot the log of this data. All right, so that will kind of give me the bell curve kind of an environment. So I say, so my x-axis is the log. So now I get a curve which is like this. All right, so so I get a better understanding of the data like this. Okay, uh, so now what I'm doing next is I want to fill it by different, whether they're mouse positive or not. Okay, so if I do this, so what I see here is what does this graph indicate? Is it clear how we got the graph first? So mouse positive, no. So these, the red one is the people who are not mouse positive, and there the number of people who have um, uh, asthma is lesser. Children who have asthma is lesser if they are not mouse positive, and number of children who have asthma is more if they're mouse positive, because that curve is larger, right? And you notice the trend in the curve is such that it is kind of two bells, not just a single this thing, right? Two dips are there. So how do we see it more clearly? I can just plot the geom as density curve, and then basically I get a curve which is something like this. So I get two bells, right? So I get a dip here. So I get a more clear understanding. All right, and then I can fill this up with the mouse positive factor. Do a fill on this. What do I get? I get two plots like this. Again, I what I see is that the MOPOS is equal to negative. That mouse positive is not there. They will have a lower ENO. All right, whereas the other ones have a higher exhaled nitric oxide, have higher chances of asthma. Okay, and so this gives a better idea, right? This is how the data is going. Instead of the fill, I'm using color now. So the fill and the color are different, right? So, but I'm doing the geom as stats. Okay. So now I'm plotting a log of PM25 versus log of ENO. All right. So what I see is I see a kind of a scatter plot. I can't really make out much out of this, right? Is this fine? Now what I do is I say shape is for MOPOs, so positive or negative. So I'm giving different shapes. All right. So if you notice now, what I see is I see circles and triangles, but they're so small, I can't really make out any difference, right? Is this part clear? Utkarsh, you asked some question. I never specified geom. Perfect. I already answered that. When there's only one column, the default geom will be histogram, because there's only one column, right? How do you plot it then? It has to be kind of plotted using some y-axis, right? Sorry, x-axis. So that x-axis will be created from the binning. The binnings will be created from the data. Okay, so is this clear? Now you can't read much out of it, right? So what I do is, I, instead of shape is equal to MOPOS, I say color is equal to MOPOS. So I'm running the line number 55. Now at least something I can see. I see the red ones, but I still can't make out much. Okay, so what I do is, now what I want to do is I say, okay, give me a geom which is point anyways. Along with the point, give me smoothener also, and the method is LM. So for this data, I plot this. So what I get is, now anyways I have the colors. If in one shot I can see now that the those who are mouse positive, they, for them the asthma symptoms would be higher if the pollution levels are higher. Whereas those who are not mouse positive, at least this data shows that the asthma symptoms go down as the pollution level goes up. All right. Uh, okay. So now, so this is so what I do now is I want to see it in separate facets. All right. This was one single graph, right? So separate facets. So I say facets is equal to dot. So one row I want, multiple columns based on the MOPOS. So I have separated out the data now. I've subsetted it. Okay. So that was line number 57. So this is how I can go about, uh, you know, getting a better feel for my data. So I've done all this. Okay. So if I was to summarize, I say, okay, so qplot kind of is an analogous to plot function, but has more built-in features. And the syntax is somewhere between the base and the lattice plotting system. And of course, produces very nice plots. In fact, they can be publication ready as well, right? But again, I can't customize it much. And therefore, when I need to do the customization, etc., I will use ggplot2. All right. So that is what I will use. Uh, um, so there are two main functions. One is qplot, and then the ggplot2. Okay. So again, the sources of whatever he's going to explain in ggplot2 function, right? So ggplot basically, right? So again, we have already talked about it. So we have verb, noun, adjective, theory, and all. So what are the basic components? So we have a data frame. For example, all this customization, right? For example, we said facets is equal to more powers and all. By default, it is giving you a graph. On top of that, I'm making customizations. All this time I was customizing only, right? I said color is equal to more pop. I said geom is equal to smooth. So all these are customizations. Or I can do fine customizations. Give me 1 second. So, so for example, aesthetic customizations also and labels, etc. So basically, what are the components of a ggplot2? One is the data frame, then the aesthetics mapping, right? Color, size, etc. Then the geoms, objects, points, line, shape. Facets we have seen, conditional plotting, right? Statistics, how is the data getting transformed? Binning, quantile, smoothing, right? And then the scales, how we using uh, different kind of scales, and then the coordinate system anyways. Yes, ggplot function has more options. ggplot2 is the system as such. Okay, name of the system. This system has multiple functions. Two very popular ones are qplot and ggplot. ggplot will allow you more customizations than qplot. Okay. So again, coming back to a little bit of theory, all right? Again, we'll get back to the code. So it's more again like the artist palette, just the similar stuff like we had in the plotting function, but we'll look at something very interesting in this as we move ahead. So plots are built up in layers, all right? So you plot something, then you can overlay some summary to it. You can have metadata annotation. So you can do both things. You can have whatever was the advantage of the lattice plot as well as the base plot. Okay. So so he's using a data which is uh, body mass index and PM25. I couldn't find it actually, and there wasn't this data available directly. All right, again another max data, but it is not directly available. So we're going to learn these same concepts using the air quality database. Is this fine? Huh? In fact, I posed that question also on the drive. They didn't have it, so then somebody. Let me just see if we can manage to pull it off. What is it that they have now? So let me just show you this. So if you notice, in fact, I had asked this question week 2, the data points. So there wasn't any corresponding max data set. All right. Somebody had mentioned that this is available and this is the link, but it didn't work fine. So then this guy, Paul Leber, he wrote the whole code using air quality database, and we will look at that. Okay, so if you guys are able to get hold of, maybe by now this month they have added this, somewhere this data is available. If you guys can get hold of the data that the professor is talking about in the slide number 27 onwards, please pass it on to me, and then and also to the class. Okay, in the meantime we are using the air quality database. Let's first look at the air quality database. Okay, I say str air quality. All right, so what I have is I have 6 variables, and then I have 153 observations: ozone, solar hour, wind, temperature, month, and day. Okay, there is nothing which is a factor here, either integers or numeric. All right, so this is what my data is. So first thing that I'm doing is I say, so I say ggplot air quality, and then AES means aesthetics. So AES ozone temperature. So ozone will have, now if I do this, it will say, if you notice the error, it says no layers in the plot, so nothing will be plotted. All right, so if I have to use this kind of a command, I can only use it by passing on this information to another variable. All right, so what I do is I say, let's say g is equal to this. So now in g it gets saved. Now what I do is I can say, so again if I say print g, I will still get the same error. On the other hand, now if I say g plus geom underscore point, so what it'll do is it will give me a plot here. So we had what? Temperature and ozone, right? So this is x-axis, y-axis. So temperature goes on y-axis, ozone goes on the x-axis. And then I said geom point, then I get this. On the other hand, if I had said geom, let's say smooth, do you see this? I could have said geom smooth plus geom point. So I get both. So what I really liked about it is, just by using a plus sign, I can keep on adding different, it's like Legos. You can build up things just by adding a plus sign. Okay. So, and plus I can save them intermediately. So what I can do is, for example, I say, okay, geom plus point is what I want anyways, right? So I can say p is equal to geom plus point. Then I can say p plus geom underscore smooth. So I get the same curve. Are you getting it? What we did here now? Is it clear to you guys? If it is clear, please raise your hands or just type it in the chat. Okay, let me move ahead. So now, so another thing, right? So I can say why the error came. Okay, and Dipankar has a question. He says, where can you explain why the error came? Because when I did this ggplot, right? Let's look at this, right? I said ggplot. Okay, now I'm specifying the aesthetics, but I'm not specifying the geoms. So by default, it doesn't take any geom. Okay, on the other hand, let us see how qplot worked. Let me go into the help of this. Okay, ggplot. Okay, so now initializes a plot object. It can be used to declare the input data frame for a graph. Let me just see where I can pull up this information, where it says that it will not by default take. So the point that I want to make here is it will not by default have any layers, whereas the qplot had. All right. If I look at the help of qplot, is a basic plotting system designed. Uh, so qplot. See, geom is equal to auto, right? Here there's a geom by default. Okay. Whereas my ggplot doesn't have that. So ggplot does not, it just has data is equal to null, and that's it. You have to specify everything. So you're kind of building it up from the palette, right? Remember we said that's from the scratch. So that is why you get that error. So yeah. So but on the so layers are basically data, right? What data you want to plot. I had given the data, but I'm not still specifying how I want to plot it. So therefore the layers are missing. Is it clear, Dipankar and Utkarsh, why there was an error? Yeah. So okay, good. So this is has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is that the disadvantage is that you have to be specific about how you want to plot it. The advantage is that it is clean slate. So you're kind of building it up. All right. So so now if I run this line of command 67, right? Just by looking at it, you can very easily see how your graph will be. So and close this. So it says I say geom smooth, the method is equal to lm. So linear model let method will be there. So I get a straight line here. Yeah. Then I can say facet. So now facet earlier I was using just as a facet. Here it is facet underscore grid. So each of this is how I said it is the grammar, right? So you have the verbs and the adjectives and the nouns which keep on building up, right? So I say facet grid tilde month. Okay. Now let me just again look at my data first. So month is an integer, all right? So, so if I run this, what happens? All the different months I'm getting. And at the same time, because it is geom smooth, method is equal to lm, I get the lines as well. Is this clear? Line number 68. Now what I do is say I want to change the color to say steel blue. All right. So geom point, the points I want to change the color. So I say color is equal to steel blue, size is equal to 4, alpha is equal to half. I guess alpha means the opacity. All right. So I'm running this command. Right. So if I say alpha is equal to 1, let's see what happens. Right. So yeah. Right. So if I say alpha is equal to 1 by 10, so it will be very shaded plots, right? So I say half, all right, and size is equal to let's say 2, so I get a smaller size. Is this clear? So geom point, so see what I'm we are able to do is specific things, we are able to customize them. Okay, now so now let's look at one more thing. uh, so here I said color is equal to steel blue, all right, and so I could execute the same piece of code also using the AES. We will look at how why we need it. Okay, so I get factor has to be used when the AES function is used. So I can use the AES function, but I get a warning here. It says, and even the output is not. It says, so when I use AES stands for aesthetics. All right. So it says factor has to be used when the AES function is used. This will give an error. So what I do is instead of this, let me look at the line of code that is 71. All right. So I say aesthetics color is equal to factor month. So I'm executing this line of code. So now it works fine. On the other hand, if I was to knock off factor here, let's see what happens, right? So it again, so now it's not separating it into, it's kind of drawing that shaded graphs. I don't want that. I wanted separate colors for each month, right? I didn't want a shading which is gradually changing, right? So is this clear how the factor will take care of the shading which will be abruptly changing versus non-factor? Is this point clear? How factor will take care of this? Okay. Now, okay. So now what I'm doing next is I'm using labels commands, right? So I say labels is equal to air quality and then labels is equal to expression. We will look at this also. So let me just execute this. Oops. So execute this. What I notice is I see temperature F, ozone ppm, all right, and air quality as the title. So my title is air quality, that's given by labels is equal to title, plus labels x is equal to expression. So what does this expression part do? Whatever I want to underscore, right? So I can write it like this, E bracket ppm. So ppm has come under ozone, and then y is equal to temperature F as it was. So if I had created it as expression, I could have changed it in a different manner. Okay, so just executing similar commands in a different way. So what I'm doing now is I'm changing the line type. So I'm adding a smoother, all right, but my line type is different. So this time I have a line type which is 3. Okay, let's see what I get when I have 1. So 1 is thick line here. Why is it a thick line? Because I say size equal to 4. So by default, this is what it is. All right, so if I make the size bigger, that's how it comes. Again, line type I change, make it 3 or 2 or whatever. Accordingly, things change, right? So why did we give fast? Yeah. Good. When we are using it in the qplot, there we are able to use facet. All right. In ggplot, we use facet underscore grid because they are missing values. Good questions. Dipankar said, why is it saying remove 37 columns? Because there are missing values. Those missing values it's not able to plot. Therefore, it is removing those data points. Okay. And because it is not plotting them for smooth or point, that's why it's specifically mentioning it. What is S is equal to false? Wait, even I have to look at that. Sorry about that. Let me just quickly do, let's do geom underscore point. Is it not a part of the, sorry, it's part of the geom underscore smooth. Geom underscore smooth. So there is this dot dot dot, so which will probably take us to the layer part. Just 1 second. Huh? Let's just do test true. Let's see how it changes. All right. Most times, just changing the value can make us understand visually rather than anything else can be. So I'm just plotting this. Oh, okay. So confidence intervals, right? Confidence intervals. Do you want to plot them or not? Is it clear, Anmol? So if I say S is equal to false, all right, and then I plot the same curve, I don't get any confidence intervals. Clear? So S is equal to false is also clear. What am I doing here? Okay. So now another thing is theme. All right. So I can change the whole theme. Till where were we done? We were done till expressions part, then colors equal to factor. We were done with this. 76 line also. No. Now there is a theme that I can specify. Now theme works at a global level. When I say global, means the whole plot. So theme underscore BW, okay, is base family is equal to times. Let's see how that change. Oops. So what has happened is, so same plot underneath is white now. All this while we were seeing gray kind of plots, right? So if I was to knock off the, say if I was to execute just this much, Okay, so I have a different theme, right? Do you see the difference between these two? Versus I add the theme. Yeah, so that's how I can change my theme as well. So there are defined themes that are there. All right, so if I say theme underscore BW, all right, so theme underscore gray is there, theme underscore capital gray BW, and then line draw, light, minimal, classic. So these are the various different themes that are there. So then I can change the font size or font family, what font I want to use. Is this fine? So basically going into a lot of details, I think these things we don't need to bother much about initially at this stage. We just need to know that, okay, these things are available. All right. Okay. So I think that's it. This we'll look at tomorrow. So uh, so like that. So we can basically build different layers. So what we did is, if you notice, we were able to build multiple layers. We had points, then we built smoother on that. All right. And so on. And I can I can save explicitly or I can directly auto print. All right. Uh, so I can add more layers, multiple layers, different things I can change for the layers. All right. And then I can do the annotations. So we've seen this, how we did the annotations. We say xlab labels, gg title, etc. Okay. Uh, so in within each geom function, I can also modify. So I can specify something at the top, and then within the geom function, I can specify separately. So for each of the layers, I can specify it separately. All right. So that's how this thing goes. Okay. So we already saw this difference, right? So labs function here, we've already seen this. Smoothener we have seen. Okay. And then changing the theme, we have already seen this. I said, all right. Now this is another interesting thing. Let's just maybe have a look at this. Uh, all right. So what are we're going to do is, clear so far? We'll just quickly look at this last point. So I have a data frame. All right. I'm creating a data frame which has two columns. Okay. One is values from 1 to 100, another is 100 random variables. Okay. So I create this. So if I was to simply just, and then what I do is, in this test data, so if I look at the test data, let me just do a plot. Okay. I say plot test data $x, or rather let me just execute this line of code, 102. All right. So where's my plot? Oops. Uh, oh, maybe because I had specified my MF rows. All right. So par MF rows is equal to C 1 comma 1. All right. So I'm executing this again. Oops. So this is what my random data is. All right. X-axis and y-axis. All right. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to introduce an outlier in this data, means a value which is really huge. So all this data is lying between the range of, if you notice, about -3 to 3. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm saying middle point, that is 50th data point, that is x is 50 and y 2, right? I say make it 100. So I'm adding an outlier. Okay. So now when I plot this, okay, so I'm plotting it again. Do you see what is there? This is how the data looks now. Is this clear? Now, if I want to see this data and don't bother about that, I can set the y limit and the x limit. So what I do is I say, okay, give me y limit as -3 to 3. So when I do this, what do I see? I see that it has jumped here, right? This is in the plotting system, base plot. I'm not using qplot or ggplot or anything. Okay. So this is what is happening now. Now, so all this is fair and fine till so far. Now what I'm saying is, but that in ggplot2 and in uh, uh, and in qplot, it somehow behaves in a different manner. So I'm doing the same thing in qplot now. Let's see what happens. So I'm saying ggplot, okay, test data, and then aesthetic such that x is equal to x-axis and y is equal to y-axis. All right, so initially this, and then I'm okay. What I do is, let me just rerun this. I'm running. Sarvani said, please explain the line number 101. I'm rerunning line number 100. Okay, so I rerun the line number 100 and then I say test data. Okay, point number 50 comma 2. What is the value? 0.67. All right, instead of that I want to change this value. I say make this equal to 100. Now when I say test data 50 comma 2, I get 100. If I was to plot this is how the data looks like. Everything is some small values. Suddenly the 50th data point here, 50 comma 50, right? 50 and 50, this is 100. So 50th column, second row, sorry, 50th row, second column. Is this clear? The outlier part. Sarvani, is it clear? Sarvani had asked the question to explain line number 101. That's what I've just done. Okay. All right. So now I've set the limit. Fine. Fair enough. Now I'm saying, okay, I'm doing the ggplot. Is it clear? Okay. So I'm doing the ggplot. So in the ggplot, I draw a line. Okay. So when I do the line part, this part is same, no difference as we saw in the earlier case. Now we say, okay, let's say what happens if I introduce the limit. Now if I introduce a limit, notice what has happened. Do you see a cutting here? It doesn't go all the way up there, just some cutting coming up. How do I see what I really wanted to see? All right, so y limit directive will not work. The outlier is missing in this case. Instead I have to use this thing called coordinate underscore Cartesian. So there's another function you can say, or a part which I use, and within that if I say y limit is equal to 3 comma 3, now we will get the correct one. You see, this is the same plot that we were getting just by directly same plot as we get in line number 103. Is this clear? Line number 103 also gave us the same plot as the line number 109, but line number 108 didn't behave that way. So this is just to tell you that y limit directly will not give you the correct output in case of a ggplot2, whereas in case of base plotting it will give you the correct output. Oh, okay, why are we limiting in the first case? All right, let's say let's execute this line of code. All right, when I execute this line of code, I see because of this one outlier I am not able to understand this data. I want to really understand. This seems like a single straight line, which is not what the case is. I really want to understand this data. In this case it is random, so it doesn't matter, but normally what will happen is because of the outliers the rest of the data loses its what it wants to convey. So what I want to do is I want to kind of not bother about the outliers. So see, if you look at the y-axis, it goes all the way from 0 to 100. In this case I'm saying I don't want it to all the way from 0 to 100. Let me just say maybe -3 to 3 and see what do I see here. So I'm interested in kind of expanding this much part, right? And that is why I use the limits. Is it clear now, Dipankar? Okay, great. All right. Uh, okay, I think we will finish, but don't leave right now. Let me just discuss what are the things that we need to do ahead and where do we stand as a class. Okay. Uh, One is that I've kind of quickly made you go through the ggplot2. This much is good enough for you to grasp. We have we will start from the next class, that is Wednesday itself. We're going to get into the project. All right, it will be great if you've already read project 2. It's really nice and interesting project. Okay, and if you've already read it, it will help out. Okay, and in fact maybe even if you have attempted it a little bit. Is this fine? Huh? So please do that. So Wednesday's class will be spent on that, and even maybe Friday. Okay, but only if you've worked on it yourself, you will find that the class is interesting. And I mean, what happened is the project one was more of trying to teach you, kind of baby spoon feeding you. Sorry, Thursday, not Wednesday. My mistake, Anmol. Our class will be on Thursday. Yeah. Whereas the second project is more to do with some data that is given, and then you have to interpret what it means. There is no specific graph that they are asking. They say, okay, show this. That's it. You have to convey this using a graph. So you have to choose how your graph should look like. Are you getting this? Huh? So before that, make sure you've mastered all this. Go through the videos. When you go through the videos, things become more clear. It'll just take you half an hour, especially after you've attended the class. That time will be really fast. Okay. So as I said, while you're walking the up and down, you can listen to the videos. Okay. And you guys have taken the um, project one. Are you guys done with the project one? Is there anyone who's not done it? Do you guys want me to keep a track of things like we used to do earlier, like who has done what, wherein you fill in the Google form? I knew it was becoming too much, but at least the advantage was that you would kind of spend, maybe not that detailed, maybe not your marks and all, at least just this much whether you've done something or not. I know. So I mean, so I decided that let me just change my mode of teaching, in the sense that I focus on teaching, and then the onus of doing stuff completely lies on you guys. So, but I think in that process sometimes you may not get the urge to do it. So how many of you have done the project one? Tell me. If you don't answer to me, that I will assume you have not done it. Okay, Supreet is done. Devshri is done. Sarvani is done. Uh, Anmol, you said Pratik. What did that mean? Utkarsh is done. Jatin is done. Lavita is done. Dipankar is done. Okay, so which means the others have not done it. So who all have not done? Can you also reply? Dheeraj is also done. Okay. So you suggest, do you think I need to even kind of ask you whether you've done it or not? Or do I kind of assume that, okay, you guys, okay, both have done the project. Great. Okay. All right, Pratik, got it. Yeah. So, I mean, you know what? It'll be nice to have all the certificates also, because as I see, more and more companies are going to open up with things, and they're actually going to value Coursera, especially because finally it comes from John Hopkins. Okay, so no one would expect you to be an expert, but if you've got these certifications and you can at least answer some questions intelligently, and you say you got the data science specialization, right, it will carry a lot of value, because we are at a time, we are at a stage where no one knows what is to be done. There are super experts who are able to manage things, but a vast majority still needs to get trained, and the company will feel very comfortable if somebody comes up with saying that, okay, we've gone through all these courses, but you should have something to prove it also, right? So at least on paper you should be able to say, okay, I've done the certification. So I feel it's a great thing. Moreover, because Coursera courses can be directly linked to your LinkedIn profile, right? So they have that authentication and everything, and in general also it feels good, like say I've done all four courses for now, this fifth one I've started, right? So and feels good that you've done something more. What do you think? Yeah. So the whole idea is that you don't have any backlogs. I don't know how many of you have the backlogs for the third class still. Yeah. So, and plus, you know what, you guys have to inspire each other, because if we create that ecosystem wherein you're inspiring each other to do it, you will see that that comes back to you also, right? Okay. And so take care of your groups, do that on your own, rather than me kind of babysitting you and kind of patronizing on top of you, right? I wouldn't want to do that. I would just want to focus on teaching as it is now, how it's going. I'm loving it this way. All right. So how's it for you? You guys like it? How's the classes now? Give me some feedback, please. It's fine, right? I mean, okay, good. Yeah. So see that there are more people who are attending, and I mean, uh, and moreover, I think this with the code it helps, right? Dipankar had given me this feedback. He said, "Bhaiya, we should have the code and we should be able to practice. As well, I'll work on it." And then Lavita gave me the feedback that Bhaiya should have done the course on your own before you teach us. And I said, "Yeah, I'll work on it." And luckily, because we had 1 month, I finished off that course. Yeah. Uh, yeah, right, good. So the fifth course also, most likely what we will do is from next week we will actually end up starting the fifth course. All right, because this course there are only first 2 weeks that are there, which are to do with the quizzes and the project. After that, it's a case study which you can do on your own also, right? We will see how we have time because we are kind of running short on time, no? So I will see if we can manage to start with the fifth course, all right? And you should also be ready with that. So therefore, make sure that you guys are up to mark with things. Okay, great, Supreet. Yeah, so the whole focus will be on the projects. I feel the projects are really nice, and we should, in the middle of the project, I mean, say for example, by Thursday we should start working on the projects. Second lecture should be project ideally. First lecture should be theory and concepts learning using code, and that's how it is. Good, huh? So please make sure more and more people attend it. It's nice. I also feel good when more when the class is full, you know. Um, and you'll also feel good when more people are sitting around you and attending the class. Hmm? How's other thing? Otherwise, everything is fine. Placements and all are going on, right? I saw Lavita had sent something that Infosys or something they are looking for people with both these skills, management as well as data analytics, something, right? So it should open up. I feel that this market, companies are kind of preparing what they want to do. They're just building their strategies. Another 6 months, 1 year down the line, for sure, immense openings will start happening. Already, it is brewing inside the companies. And I can assure you that our John Hopkins data science course is very highly rated amongst the industry because uh, they see that something is first of all on Coursera. Okay, even I have to do Kriyanmol. I have a talk after that. I've been invited by the university to give a talk to the Department of Education. Anyways, all right. Okay then, all of you. Bye bye, Jai Gurudev. So see you on Thursday. All right, 6:30. So if preferably if you can guys can come in time, it'll be nice. Huh? Arrange for the key to be available to you guys. It'll be better. Okay. Jai Gurudev Utkarsh. Jai Gurudev Saruni. Bye. I will wait. Bye Lavita. Jai Gurudev. Okay. Yeah. Please write the mail Utkarsh. Jai Gurudev Devashri. Okay, Munmun. Shoot your questions. Do you have a headphone with you? Let me give you mic access. I've given you mic access, Munmun. You can speak back to me. You couldn't understand? Did you attend the other classes before this? Or did you go through the videos? Uh, no or yes? Because you've gone no and yes. You went through the videos, 3 lectures that are there, recorded lectures, right? You've gone through the videos. I have given you mic access, Munmun. Can you talk back? You haven't seen the last video? No, 3 are there, fourth is not there.